Hey everyone, Bethany here with Rough Beginnings Rehab. You're gonna have to excuse my voice. I'm still getting over a horrible sinus and ear infection from traveling. But I really wanted to get this video out 2 weeks before July 4th because when you want to start working with your dog on noise phobias, it needs to be tomorrow. You see the video today, you practice it tomorrow, so you get a couple of weeks in. You never want to do this the day of or the day before. Even as much as a month is really good, but work on this every day, 10 to 15 minutes, twice a day, even as much as 3 times a day, if it's not too much for your dog, the steps that I'm about to go over. There are occasionally situations where you might see stress in your dog and you need to take a day off. That's not uncommon if you don't normally work on behavioral modification or just structure in general. It's not that your dog isn't used to being worked. It's that your dog may not be used to being challenged, and then you need to do it every other day or once a day rather than a couple of times. Variety is key here. I think that's a big one, but I'm going to go over quite a few options for you guys. There's nothing short about noise phobias, like severe fear and noise phobias, but I am going to make this as quick as I can. I'm actually going to be using my older dog Maverick behind me as an example because he can't be crated during fireworks, which is odd. I tell people all the time that the main thing to do is to really make sure your crating is solid, cover the crate. If it's a small dog, a closet is the best place because the clothes really damp down the amount of noise. Play 2 things, not 1 thing, 2 things. Some sort of white noise machine or loud fan that dilutes outside noises. Like a hair dryer, that's a really popular one, white noise and hair dryers for like babies going to sleep. That's because of the way it reduces outside sound. But then you also need to play like talk radio or a loud movie. I like to play Marvel movies or something like that, or something with a lot of talking in it, where there's a lot of back and forth, like a sitcom, fast paced. There just needs to be a lot of sound, a lot of action, a lot of talking happening. Those 2 things during the 4th of July, maybe the night before and the day and night after. So if you go to work on July 5th, you're playing these things throughout the day for your dog. But also I just want to say know your dog, because if I was to leave Maverick alone, if I had to for some reason, I would probably give him the entire bedroom. I would leave a little bit of the closet open because I've noticed a few times when loud noises startle him, he doesn't like to be trapped in crate, but he wants the option of crate. So I would prop crate open. I would leave the closet open because he's went in there a few times. He loves the den-like feel. He just wants the choice of being able to get out. But I could be wrong. He might try to bust out of the bedroom door. I haven't tried that yet. I just know that that's what I would try. I would practice it to some degree to kind of give you an idea on Maverick. You know, even if the gates are really loud, any loud noise, he wants to get out of crate, but he loves his crate. He just doesn't like feeling like he can't get out if he's scared. So that's why I'm going to be using Maverick as an example today on the exercises to use. So the reason I point that out though is just know your dog. For 4th of July for him, we will be home and he'll be out with me on leash because that's how he does best. Him as well as my German Shepherd Dakota. The other 2 are fine. And so every dog is different. So just know your dog, know what works best for your dogs. Many dogs do best in crate with all the things I mentioned before. So something I want to touch on really quickly is if you use any type of CBD oil, low doses of THC, things like that, that stuff, it's my understanding that it's best built up in the system a little bit. And so it's not necessarily, if you were to use calming aids, you wouldn't do it that day. You know, you would want to start it ASAP. That's my understanding of calming aids. So I just want to put that out there. Sedatives are really useful, but there are some that have proven to not be useful and some that are really great. So obviously you want to talk to your vet. I am not a vet, but I am at the end of this video I'm going to put it right here, the timestamp in case you just want to jump forward because you're not going to worry about any of this prep stuff. Jump to the end to see what I know some vets recommend some drugs over other drugs. If your dog is already on something like Prozac is another thing where it stays in the system. It has to be built up. It has to be weaned off. That's different than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about giving your dog some ACE. So I'm gonna go over some of those drug options at the end of this video. Okay, so what I would suggest that you do is you play low level fireworks on your TV, especially if you have some sort of bass monitor speaker. That's what I'm trying to say. You want to play that at a low level while your dog is doing their downtime. Preferably for me, it's 10 to 15 minutes in crate and 10 to 15 minutes in place duration right here. But maybe you don't crate your dog. Maybe you only do place duration or free roaming in your home. So you would want to play this while they're just having their downtime. You want to play it at a level that doesn't alarm them to where they would get up and start pacing. Now, if you can't find that level, then you have to skip all of that and go right to leash work. But let's assume that you can find a very low level where the ears might perk up, but they're just like, she's just watching a movie, you know, and they just zone back out. And you play around with the volume levels throughout your two to 4 weeks of prep before the 4th of July, before, the New Year fireworks, where, it's super, super low, and hopefully their tolerance builds and builds and builds. So that's the one part that you're doing during the day. So that's basically 30 minutes of listening to some sort of loud noises. You could even do gunshots, probably. You could probably find gunshots on YouTube or something like that. It just needs to be some popping, something good to elicit that same stressor that they're going to feel that night. It'll never be to the same degree. Thunderstorm you could do as well. It'll never be to the same degree, but we can go ahead and start prepping them. If your dog likes treadmill, if they're very movement based. Maverick is not movement based. He's food based, so we're going to use food, but movement does not work for him. He hates the treadmill. He hates going fast. And so this wouldn't work for him. But for so many of my client dogs, putting them on a treadmill for 10 to 15 minutes a day and letting them listen to low firework sounds, just enough to make them be like, whoa, what is that? Then I might have them speed up a little bit to a brisk pace and I change their pace regularly through 10 to 15 minutes. We never keep it the same. And I'm always right there with them because I'm dealing with, fear response of some sort. I've even tried things like popping balloons, stuff like that, if the dog is super solid and needs more of a realistic challenge. So you can really get creative if your dog already likes the treadmill, or maybe doesn't like it but is used to being on it. You can layer that onto it as well, 10 to 15 minutes a day. So it sounds like a lot of work, but there you go. You got 45 minutes already of your dog being exposed to this to prep them for the big day. I will say that if your dog doesn't like treadmill, the patterning that I'm going to do with Maverick, which is going to be very slow, once the dog is good at slow, speed them up. So you could do more active patterning, which I will try to show you with a slow dog instead of the treadmill. The treadmill is just another tool, another great tool that you can use. But you can also just do regular patterning very quickly. But I do feel like there's something about the treadmill they have to focus on in a different way because it's so foreign to them. They're moving quickly, but yet they're not going anywhere. And that really uses up a lot of mental space in their heads. And so we see a lot of improvement when we layer on stressors to treadmill. Anyway, I'm going to move on. So the other thing is to work with your dog while they hear fireworks. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do, the different ways that I do that. The main thing I want you guys to understand, I think, for me, my style of training that's different than other great trainers that have great results, but I am such a stickler about this for so many reasons. I will not layer food or play onto stressors until I get some focus from the dog. Now, by focus, I don't mean eye contact. I just mean an awareness of where I am and what I'm asking for. And no fight or flight. So that means no reactivity, no barking or alerting to it in a big way, like they might react, and no flight, fleeing. So no fight or flight. And first they're kind of following my lead. They're a little bit aware of what I'm asking before I layer on something that stimulates arousal like food or play. And I can't say I would never use excitement. There has been a few times with my German Shepherd where she's doing good, but I need a little bit of, hey, good girl, to get her attention on the toy when she's nervous. And then I immediately am like, good girl. And I bring it back down to calm confidence. Do not stay in that yay kind of really happy or soft, higher energy state, because in my experience, way more often than not, it affects your dog negatively. So there's a way to use food and play that is calm, confident, and collected that will have way more value in the long run than trying to use excitement to get your dog's attention. That's also part of the reason why I don't add food or play until I get what I mentioned before, which is no fight or flight and some awareness of movement and what I'm asking for before I layer on something positive that could elicit an excited response. Because in my experience, when you do that too soon, you end up just feeding the beast. The dog is nervous, anxious about the noise, and you layer on something that is anxious, excited to it, and you can have some real bad fallout from that in a lot of different ways, even throughout your daily routine. So that's something very strongly that we do not do. I don't redirect excitement 99% of the time. No, it's never say never. There are always exceptions. I can think of a couple in my head, but it's very rare. So just go with that philosophy and see where you get. 10 hours fireworks normal speed. So don't make that mistake. Turn it all the way down first. I already know his response to this kind of stuff, so because this is not our first rodeo. But if this is your first time doing it, go ahead and have your volume all the way down. He kind of shifted a bit. There we go. You guys saw that, right? So that was his first, his first point of noticing it. And so I just paused it. I didn't want to mess with the sound. Now I'm going to mess with the sound. I'm going to go 3 levels below that. That's what I'm going to work him at on his first day, but I'm going to vary the level. So this is 10 hours. So in 10 to 15 minutes of working with him, I'm going to vary the level very loud and very low. But I don't want to start where he noticed it. I want to start below that a little bit. So me picking up the leash, he pops up. That's a no. Tap immediately. He's excited to maybe go in the bedroom away from the noise. We pause, and then all I ask for is move when I move and stop when I stop. So I tap the e-collar at a low level, just enough to get his attention, whatever that might be, lowest level possible. And the key here is when my dog is nervous, I don't ask for sit down, place, heel. I expect loose leash walking with me, turn when I turn, move when I move, and stop when I stop. So I just pause. Look at that yawn. Let your dog process when they're stressed. He knows all of his basic obedience. But to first start working with him, we're going to do 3 to 10 turns. Basically, I'm going to turn until the turns are very successful and easy. And I'll utilize the hallway and more of the home. But then my pauses, I don't ask for anything except for him to stay with me. So if he was to step away from me, I would tap. Pull forward, I would tap and give leash guidance. I'm saying next to nothing. The more I say, the more energy I'm adding into the mix, and he's already struggling enough as it is. And so that's the most important advice I can give you, is stop asking for obedience if your dog truly is highly stressed. Take your time and just get the bare bones basics. Get what makes sense to your dog. And this is the exercise that's holistic and makes sense to your dog. Once you feel like your dog is calmed down, then ask for a sit down or place. We do long pauses, so I'm pausing for several seconds. He doesn't want to go to place already. He's resisting. He really just wants to go in the bedroom. I know my dog, so that's why he's resisting. See that right there? So that hyper focus on the TV, I tapped the button. I paused. I really should have paused longer, I'll be honest, before I released him. I didn't even ask for a down because he's struggling. My goal is to work him through his emotions, not demand obedience, which can hold your dogs in patterns of anxiety. It can also help them with reactivity and other things, but that's not my goal right here. I don't have a reactive dog. I have a dog that's stressed out. So right now, my goal is to work on the stress, okay? So if you get this, see how he's struggling? So I tap e-collar and provide guidance. So my point is just that if my dog is in fight or flight, I will absolutely correct them, hold them accountable, maybe demand a sit or down. But then as I work them through their emotions, I actually ask for less. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. So we're in that second camp where I'm working through stress. Okay, moving on. Remember the food work or the fast-paced work that I mentioned to you earlier. The biggest mistake I see people make is they layer on food work when the dog is stressed out. That is not when you first layer on play or food work or fast-paced exercise and obedience drills. You do that when it's easy. So I lowered the volume. So this is easy because I'm trying to build good habits. Then while we're working, I'll amp it up and then bring it back down. Amp it up, bring it back down. And always end on a good note, even if that good note means I have to turn it off completely. So some of the techniques here I'm using is engaging him by moving backwards and getting him to take food. If your dog is too nippy, then don't do that. Instead, turn and deliver food calmly after the turn. But if you're struggling with engagement or really want to build up some speed and really going for that food so the food starts to trump the fear, the moving backwards can be the most helpful. And then some food on the stationary commands, although after working with him, I think next time I'll only really use it on the movement. Now, sorry to be late in explaining this. This is called rapid reward treating. That is because, and I'm using kibble because he's very food motivated. That's because I'm using poppers, those things that kids throw down on the ground that pop. But see, look, I feel like I reached a threshold. Did you see him take food and bubble out away from me a little bit? I felt like I was about to go over his threshold. So we need to go back to food engagement. So I did food engagement again, just like you saw me do before. And I did that quite a bit, added some more poppers to it just to see, because again, I know my dog, I can push him. There we go. So you still see him roundabout recall me, a tiny bit at the end. He went like around me because of where the pop came from. So because of that, I still continued to use food, but I really slowed down. Instead of engaging, I did turn and food. And I tried to get him to stay on that side of me, but I really felt like it was just too much for him. So after I did this final bout of challenging him right here, which was pop and then a recall, which he actually did really nicely on, I really felt like we hit our limit and we would start to go downhill. So I didn't make him go on that side of me, which is the typical side. I just gave him tons of pieces of food in a row. And then we went back to calm patterning. I can't tell you how much this combination of being able to switch between positive reinforcement, but then when something gets to be too much, to abandon play or food and go back to calm and controlled patterning. I cannot tell you how much that combination can really just change your entire dynamic with your dog if you struggle with fear issues. And that truly is why 90% of what we do with new clients, new dogs, or people who need a tune-up with their dog is this low key. It's creating pack drive. So pack drive is the type of drive that a dog might have to follow you and to follow your lead. That's what we're trying to create. And doing that calmly with just e-collar, body language, leash is so valuable. Now I'm layering on food very calmly. So instead of the fast-paced work you saw, I felt like he had peaked. It was too much for him, adding in those poppers, and he was getting a little bit too uppity. So now I'm trying to combine my slow patterning with very calm, controlled food rewards. Now, is that is that what is going to work best for him? I don't know. I'm trying it, okay? Playing around with it. Maybe it makes him too jumpy and excited. Kind of maybe what I'm seeing. Maybe I get rid of the food and just go back to calm patterning, no food for a while. Maybe I only layer in food when he's hanging out in place and I just toss food at him for loud noises. These are things that you need to practice. But I'll have to say, when you reach a point where you've got your dog's focus on the move when I move, stop when I stop, you've got the calm, slow pack drive where they seem to really be calming down, the tail's not wagging like you see it now. They're nice and calm. Might still be nervous, but they're calm and following you. Layering in food or play appropriately can close the gap surprisingly quick when it comes to fear issues when done many days in a row or many days a week for a few months, we'll say. So that is why I never want to undercut the value that food and play can provide. I just want to point out how crucial it is timing-wise when to add it in. And if you aren't good at delivering food or you don't like using food, it's actually completely fine. Just stick to your slow and controlled work. And don't forget that leash. The leash is crucial. Even if your dog does this type of patterning beautifully off leash, when your dog is nervous or fearful, having the leash on helps them feel more secure. So you want to always make sure you add it in. After doing the popping, which I did it again, you guys probably didn't see, even though I was giving food, he was kind of trying to make a mad dash to avoid to the bedroom. So I decided to just stand strong. If your dog struggles like a big boom of fireworks, you need to stand up. You need to be the pack leader, be the, I don't want to say alpha, because it's really not about that. Just be the one that your dog wants to walk through a dark alley with, the protector. You can't do that sitting down. So through the tough moments, stand up, let your dog know they're not going anywhere, they're not allowed to go anywhere because you're there, you're going to protect them. Once that's secure, then you can do the food work like you just saw. And I'm just constantly varying the level from high to low, high to low. So anyway, I hope you guys learned a lot. I would only sit down like this if I turn the level way down. And so even on the night of the fireworks, the biggest portion of them, I'll be standing up, holding my dog's leash along with a few other dogs' leashes. I might be walking slowly and confidently throughout my house with all these dogs in place duration to let them know I've got it. And every time one of them flinches, I'll turn towards them, settle them back down before I continue moving on. Anyway, guys, I hope you got a lot of value from this video, and good luck out there. This is not an easy issue to deal with for anyone. Well, I almost forgot massage. Now, when your dog is not in fight or flight, they're not being needy, super pushy, slow massage. Your fingers have to move slow. It can't be like when you go and get a massage and they go fast. It's not relaxing at all. It needs to be nice, slow, soothing. This old man's got a lot of skin, so that's why you see it look like that. When he gets too pushy, I actually tell him no and have him chill out. And that is a really, really important part of this. So I'll have him stand, sit, then lie down. I work him up to that. Or if your dog is in place, you can go sit next to them, massage them in place. But if they're trying to be in your lap, first you have to stand up and calm them down and make sure that they know that's not going to happen. Once they can kind of settle down, but they're still really nervous, they're still really scared, they might even be shaking. Maybe they won't take food, after the worst of it. And then even if you've worked them for 5 to 10 minutes after the worst of the fireworks, they won't take food. They're shaking. That's a good time to start to add in nice, slow massage or belly scratches. Again, nice and slow, like I'm doing here. Okay, so to talk a little bit about the drugs, like I mentioned before, very specifically, ACE, when I used to work at rescues a lot, ACE was a common one with dogs that had severe aggression or anxiety, transporting them or seeing the vet. But the thing about ACE, which is the short version, there's a long name that I'm going to put right here. The bad thing about that is apparently they have found that it increases noise sensitivity. So while it might have been fine for the stuff that, rescues that I worked with used to use it for, it would not be good during fireworks season. The other one that's a no-go, I'm also going to put down here because I can't pronounce it. That is has some health issues associated with it. The one that seems to do the best based off of my research is the benzos. We'll just call them that, okay? And this is the one that seems to do the best for firework season and thunderstorms and things like that. But again, I am not a vet, so please talk to your vet about what you feel like your pet needs and can handle, and look at some medical journals and medical websites. And so I do want you to talk to your vet and do your own research, but I hope that gives you an idea.